How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show, Shawn. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Zillow updating their 2022 market prediction, and it's not going in the direction that most buyers want it to go. We're going to be talking about a Florida house that is being auctioned as an NFT, and we're going to be talking about hashtag VanLife and why VanLife and actual housing and zoning regulations may be coming to a breaking point. VanLife has been huge during the pandemic in the last couple of years, especially in the Midwest, Colorado, out west, but there's some issues that come along with that. So Shawn, let's start us off with an article from Fortune that says Zillow, our 2022 housing forecast is way off.
Wow.
Home prices now set to spike 16%. So originally, which, by the way, first things first, a Zillow prediction.
I was going to say it.
Way off.
I was going to say it.
Dude, so like when a house gets listed for like $699, the Zillow estimate will be like $699.
Of course.
And then if it's like on the market for like 20 days or something, then it'll be like, oh my gosh, this house is way overpriced, and it'll like change the estimate. So these estimates make no sense. So
They don't.
Let's see, in December of 2021, so just recently, this wasn't like
2 months ago.
Yeah, just 2 months ago, Zillow said that there would see their U.S. home values would climb 11% in the year 2022. Now, their latest forecast finds home prices are set to spike 16.4%, an increase of about 5% between December 2021 and December 2022. If it comes to fruition, the article says it would mark another year for brutal home buying experiences. So Shawn, what are your thoughts, first of all, on Zillow predicting 11% home value increase? I know we're in February, so we're a little bit past like the prediction phase of real estate. Like, you're not going to say Happy New Year on like January 15th, right?
Yeah, they've already got some data for this year.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on 11%? What are your thoughts on 16%? And where do you think the final number is going to end up?
I mean, I guess it depends on where you're looking, right? I mean, if we did 16% again this year, a median sales price in Arlington for a single family home is what, like almost 800,000 right now? So 800,000, you're talking 120 grand more at least, right? Next year. That's a lot of money. Now, if you go to the Midwest where things are 300,000 and you're talking 16%, you're talking 45 grand, right? So not as much there, and it seems a little bit easier to swallow. So I think locally we probably won't hit the 16. I think nationally, if you average it all in, we probably will be close to there, because let's look at what we've done so far this year. Matt, you have some good experiences in this, and you're already getting some buyer fatigue, and we're in February, right? We're just talking about how buyers are starting to pile up for us, and we have multiple buyers out there. We're going to start showing a lot of properties, and we're losing deals. And Matt, like, why don't you just run us through what you did last year? Give us an example. I mean, last week or this past week, right?
Yeah, four different offers, 4 different types of properties: condo, single family house, townhouse, and I think another condo. Offers range from anywhere from 3 to 15, escalating anywhere from 15 to about 100K over asking. We did no contingencies on all 4 contracts and lost 3 out of the 4. I shouldn't say lost 3 out of the 4. I should say we won 1 out of the 4 contracts, because let's be honest, really difficult to win a 15 offer contract, really difficult to win a 5 offer contract. Dude, I'm a little bit bitter right now because I reached out to some of my coolest clients. Shout out to Peter and Jenny, and they wrote a really good offer last month, and the property just closed. There was a property listed for $625.
Okay.
We escalated up to $640. Okay. No finance, no appraisal, and the winning bid, the closing price came in at $637. It came in $3,000 below us, and the winning offer was with a VA loan. So hats off if you're a veteran, hats off if you have a VA loan, hats off if you win a multiple offer scenario. We were doing conventional, 20% down, $3,000 more. they went with a lower offer. Now, we did have a home inspection for void-only purposes, but this is also a 1,500 square foot townhouse, and we're $3,000 higher. A little bit bitter.
Little bitter. That goes to show you got to get in to do that pre-inspection. I mean, that could be it, or it could have been, hey, VA, right? Like a lot of military in the area, and they felt sympathetic because VA loans get beat out all the time. Could have been VA sympathetic, right? I mean, but that's what we're saying, and that's what we tell every client now is like, listen, you have to be non-contingent. We have to go in and do a pre-inspection, or else we're not going to win this.
I'm talking with one of my buddies. He's an agent in San Francisco, Hans, or East Bay. Is East Bay San Francisco, or is that? I don't know. We'll call it San Francisco. Anyways, it's where houses sell for $100,000 over asking, yada yada yada. He says out there the sellers do a home inspection beforehand and say, here you go. This is what we're working with. We may fix some of these things, we may not, but go ahead and write your non-contingent offer. I kind of like that better.
I kind of like it too, because think about how much time is wasted when you're going through and you're trying to schedule a home inspection, a pre-inspection, while there's tons of regular showings going on. And then you go and you do your inspection, and there's another inspector right after that going to do the same job. It's like, that seems better to me too. Hey, here it is. Here's the inspector. Now, what some people would say was, what inspector did you hire? We don't trust your inspector. We want our own inspection. But I like that idea, because then it's all out. You can make your decision based on the home's condition right here.
Level playing field. Okay, Jumping back into the article, with the market, the biggest thing is the inventory, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, no houses, no houses, no houses. In January, there were just over 923,000 houses for sale on Zillow. That's down 40% from pre-pandemic January 2020.
Wow.
So 2 years ago, inventory is down 40% and down 19.5% since January 2021. So First of all, down big time. Second of all, 2 years ago it was down 40%. Last year, down 19%. Basically increased 20%. Did it not?
Yeah. So your inventory decreased 20%. Your buyer pool probably increased a lot, right? You think a year's worth of buyers that didn't get in, and then now we're in another year. So that prediction, based on those kind of numbers, you're right. It's going to increase a lot, because people are going to go nuts. We've seen people lose $100,000 over asking price. If you're not non-contingent, you're losing. And where does it stop? And we were talking last week about, is it better to buy in January when, the prices are still 16% lower than they're going to be in January of next year? So yeah, of course, it's try to get in as soon as you can, before the prices keep going and keep going. And, if you bought last year, you're up 16%, So my recommendation is try to get in, write a solid offer right now, get in before interest rates keep going up and prices keep going up. It's the reality. I think that's what's going to happen this year.
Yeah, my buddy that's buying was like, experts say that interest rates are going to be 4% by the end of the year. It's like, well, they're almost 4% right now. Like, they're almost there.
That's right.
It is really painful 1 week to have a monthly payment get you a certain house, and the next week have a monthly payment get you a completely different, lower quality of house.
Yeah,
that's got to be painful, and you got to have some empathy for the buyers out there that are really going through this right now.
Yeah, I've been through it personally, and you're crunching these numbers, and you're like, okay, I can have this house at this price. I'm like, oh, it's pushing it, and then the next week the interest rates go up, and you're like, no, it's a dagger. It's really tough, but historically 4%, it's really good, really good. So don't let that deter you. Get in the market now, and write a really strong offer. You have to, or you're going to lose.
Cool. Let's move on to our next topic. This comes to us from CryptoNews.com.
Yeah. Crypto. That's taken over, man. Taking over our show.
Crypto. Dude, I finally got my Coinbase account reactivated.
Yeah.
I was locked out of my Coinbase account because I not only have two-step verification, which everyone should have, but I also have the Authenticator app.
Yes.
Do you know the Authenticator app? Mm-hmm. However, when I transferred phones from the Android to the iPhone, it didn't show up anymore as like one of my things. So then I had to like send in a driver's license and like do a couple things, and there's like a 24-hour period. So I'm finally back in, and I'm finally back to checking some charts on some crypto.
Yeah, you got any heads up on some of these? So you were talking the other day about sands, right? Was it sands?
Yeah.
Oh, sand is the currency in where? In what?
In
Sandbox?
the sandbox, yeah.
What's the one?
Mana. Decentraland?
No, it's the 8,880
Keys. Keys, baby.
Keys. That's
gotta get in on Keys.
I was telling my brother about it. Keys. And is it Keys the token too?
Yeah. So there's a Keys token.
Yeah.
And then there's a mint coming up where Keys is minting 8,888 meta mansions. And like each mansion, there's a couple different biomes, and there's a couple different characteristics of each mansion. And during the mint, they're also going to be giving away an exorbitant amount of Ethereum. They're planning on doing the largest Ethereum giveaway. I think they're going to do 800. They're going to give away 800 Ethereum, which is like hundreds of thousands of dollars to one person out of the 8,888 people that mint a meta mansion. So.
And do you have to buy that? You were talking about a coin to purchase those.
You need to purchase the Keys token, which is a cryptocurrency. So you need to hold, I think, at least 10,000 Keys. But Keys, they're like 4 cents. Actually, it just went up to 7 cents last night.
You just doubled your money. Almost.
Yeah. So you have to hold like a specific, and I don't have a lot. I think I have like 9,000 Keys, which you can do the math on when I bought it for like 3 cents. It's really not a lot. But what's interesting is that in their white paper, they actually go through and list the benefits that you get from holding Keys. Like if you hold 10,000 Keys, here are your benefits. If you hold 100,000 Keys, here are your benefits. And if you hold 1 million Keys, here are your benefits. And there's like Marriott, Bonvoy, and networking events with top real estate agents,
cool.
and flights to Dubai and things of that nature. So there's tangible rewards for actually holding it. It's not just some pie in the sky type of project.
First I've heard of that. That's cool.
So we can talk about that offline some more. I'll get you nice and hooked. So Florida home to be auctioned off as an NFT. There is a house in Tampa, Florida today, Thursday, February 10th, being auctioned for $650,000. The kicker here is you go online and you register, which is normal. However, the biggest difference is instead of, doing whatever you do for a normal auction, you connect your wallet. Mm-hmm. So you connect your cryptocurrency wallet, and this is being done through a real estate startup that we've actually talked about recently, Proppy. So Proppy will host the auction and will accept payment in form of digital assets. So we've talked about a house in the past that sold as an NFT. There was a house in California where if you bought the house, you would also get an NFT of the house. This is a little bit different. This is bidding on an NFT, and when you win the NFT, you get the house. So when you win the NFT, I believe what I'm reading here is you win the NFT, the house is owned by an LLC. The LLC is connected to the NFT. So when you win the NFT, you are now the owner of the LLC, which lists in its assets the property that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and that's how you're able to get it instantly because there is no recordation after that.
So
the LLC owns it.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the future? Properties will just never go on record?
It's such a good idea because now they're in a cocoon basically, right? The property is in an LLC. You're just transferring the LLC. However, right now is that has to be an investment property, right? Because it's an LLC, I don't know. That's a good question, right? So are you purchasing? Well, you're purchasing an NFT, so you're not purchasing real property. There's so many questions.
Can't you have an LLC and live in it? Like, what if you wanted to hide your identity and I want it to be like 123 Banana LLC instead of Matt Leighton?
Yeah, you're right.
Because I can just go and look up Shawn Battle and know like everything about where your house is.
No, you can't. It's
but
not in there.
if you buy it, if you create an LLC, I mean, maybe you can look up the SEC and find the registered agent, but a couple more hoops to jump through.
Also hide that as well. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a really good concept, because wouldn't that then, we talked about title insurance last week, and wouldn't that then stop that problem with title insurance? Now it would be an LLC title insurance, or an NFT title insurance that makes sure that you're getting the proper transfer. But I love the concept, and you can go online right now, register. I think how many thousands of people are registered for this right now?
7,000.
7,000 people are registered to try to go to the auction, to spend their money to try to win the LLC that owns this house. And the house, honestly, I mean, it's nothing to call mom about, right? I mean, it's small.
I mean, it looks like a decent house.
Little,
I mean,
rambler.
small. It's a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 2,100 square foot house. It's in the Gulfport neighborhood of Tampa. Allegedly a good neighborhood, decent neighborhood. I mean, it's not a mansion, but it's not like.
Listen,
I mean, look at the bathroom.
It
Bathroom's
looks
nice.
great, right? And honestly, they will probably get. You got to think of the yield, right? So like, the investor that bought this house said, "All right, I'm going to create an LLC. How much did it cost to create the LLC? How much does it cost to put on the auction?" But you now have 7,000 buyers on one property compared to 30, 20, 25 locally. Now you have 7,000. So think about where this money is going. I'm selling a house through an NFT. Let's do it. I mean, you've got to let's watch this to see where it actually sells and compare that home sale to any of the other sales in the neighborhood and see what percentage higher that they get. That's going to be very interesting.
The house has over 500 saves on Zillow, over 8,000 views on Zillow. And just getting back to the LLC real quick, reading from the article, should a buyer purchase the NFT, they would own a U.S.-based entity that owns the property. They would get ownership rights through the NFT, which can be stored in a crypto wallet. Mm-hmm. So essentially what we said, Proppy is going to handle the payment and do the smart contract. I am very curious. We should just figure out a way to get the Proppy CEO. Because what I want to know is the county and the state are going to get their money somehow. Like in Virginia, the treasurer, like Arlington County, does not mess around with property taxes. So they're going to figure out a way to get their money from the recordation somehow.
Yeah, I wonder.
The grand tourist tax.
If they can. Well, this might be a precursor to how they start taxing you on this, right? I mean, because you're selling an LLC, you're still going to, maybe you're not paying a property tax, you're paying a different tax on purchasing an LLC. I wonder.
Yeah,
That's a really good question.
We shouldn't even think about it as like a house sale.
Because it's not. It's an LLC sale.
It's just you're buying another business.
Yeah. So you're buying a business that owns assets. Wow. All right. And so what are the taxes on buying an LLC? I don't know. I don't know what those are.
So one of the articles about the house was the homeowner, who's also obviously in the crypto space, wanted to do this to start the conversation and to have the conversations that me and you are having right now.
Yeah, it's such a, I mean, and the thing is, once you start talking about it, you're like, oh, okay. And you start getting it and you're like, well, wait, how does this happen? Is this, it's awesome. I love it. I mean, this could be the future. This could be the future of the way sales go.
Could
Put
very
it on
well.
auction.
Could
we
very well
no longer
be.
have jobs. We're just NFT transferees. I don't know.
3D glasses and living in metaverses.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final topic of today's show. This comes to us from Denver's Mile High Magazine, 5280. You think it's 5280 or 5280 or
1,280 feet in a mile.
Oh man. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I would.
You didn't know.
I would not have got that quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so article is titled, "Why Mountain Towns Are Rethinking the Residency Status of Van Lifers." Sean, Van Life. Hashtag Van Life is huge. I got a buddy in San Diego. Shout out Derek. Lives in his van. He has a storefront, retail store. Sells coffee on the outside, surfboards on the inside.
Very cool.
In PB, Pacific Beach,
Love
Turquoise Street, right down by the water. And he's kind of bootstrapping the whole thing with another buddy. So he's, investing in the business, working day and night, and then, has the van around back and sleeps in the van. And he's, living the dream.
Is that the guy we met in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
so
cool
like,
dude.
if I told you one of my buddies lives in a van,
That's him.
You'd be like, this is the
I
guy.
follow him on Instagram too. I gotta check in with him.
He's a cool dude. Yeah. So the issue with the van life, this is from Colorado, Denver, is that the cost of these Colorado resort communities. Have you been out there?
Yeah.
Okay, I have not.
It's beautiful. I mean, if you want to go for a beautiful drive, go right down Route 80 through the mountains. It's gorgeous.
So Steamboat Springs is one of the towns that's mentioned, and I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Colorado.
No.
I've never heard. I mean, maybe it's
beautiful.
It's landlocked, but other than that, I've only heard great things. Never been, but these resort communities are incredibly attractive, and especially during the pandemic and shortly thereafter, people discovered them, rediscovered them, realized that they could just move there, or realized that they had the ability to just buy a house, take another home off the inventory of the actual properties that normal residents could buy and maybe live there part-time. And the issue comes in with the service workers. So keeping the town running. Sure, someone can come in on their private jet or hang out for a couple months and then go back to New England or Florida or wherever they're from. But, that person isn't working in the town. That person's not operating the ski lift or flipping burgers, for your double cheeseburgers. So van life has increased dramatically in popularity to the point of there's now an issue in a handful of Colorado towns with a lot of vans, a lot of people living in vans, and they're still contributing, right? They still have jobs, but the housing has gotten so expensive in some of these communities that they can't just move down to the street to another neighborhood because that'd be off a cliff. Like there's not, like if you're in DC, you can't just move to insert 50 other cities nearby or towns nearby that it's cheaper and commute further. When you're in Colorado, you're in the woods, you're in the middle of nowhere. There's miles between towns. So what people are doing, they're living in their vans. Where do you park your vans? You can't park it on the street overnight because there's emergency plowing that has to be done. So the issue is they got to park somewhere. They got to live somewhere. The town has to run, and they are almost at the point of an affordable housing crisis.
That's insane to think about. And you were talking, I think the article says that they were planning on creating a parking lot where all of these vans could then move in, set up porta potties, and then they're all localized in one section. But the residents then, the actual residents that own property in that area are kind of like, hold on a second. These people aren't paying taxes. They're just kind of sitting in one spot. It doesn't feel right for us. And so they're putting up a stink about it and saying, hey, we need this to end. So then what happens, right? So now all these people that are living in vans because that's what they can afford, that's the lifestyle that they have, are being pushed out, and that then pushes out all your workers. Mm-hmm. And so it's a crisis. Like, what do you do about that? I would think that land, well, it's mountainous, but it's got to be cheaper, right? And so I don't know. That's a really tough.
Yeah,
thing to get around.
What the county is doing, it might be Summit County, but don't quote me on that. Or maybe Eagle County. Again, general area, is they're creating a few different areas, like parking lots of churches, where for $40 per month or a very low cost, you can come park your van there, sleep overnight. You can't cook, because if you cook there, then that's technically camping, and apparently that opens up a whole nother can of worms. But you can get takeout there, you can get prepared meals and eat it there. But at that point, they have public restrooms or porta-johns there. But what you were saying earlier is some residents are starting to feel like van lifers are essentially freeloading off of the services of the county that is providing. I mean, these are volunteers that are at these church parking lots, helping out with vans. So are they freeloading and using county services without paying property taxes because they don't pay rent and they don't pay a mortgage? And then that's when you have this almost classism fight between people that are just trying to make ends meet and have a job, and a lot of these people in the vans, they work two jobs, versus someone that comes in and maybe they are a resident, maybe they live there full time, or maybe they're just there part time, and they see these people living in non-designated, unzoned housing, and at what point does that become too much of a nuisance or too much of an unacceptable behavior where that reaches a breaking point?
Yeah, and you might think, hey, well, why don't these van people just go to a campsite? There's got to be campsites out there that they could live at, right? But I learned something because my niece actually just bought a camper, and her goal is to travel with her boyfriend all around the United States and just go from campsite to campsite. But what you don't know about camping is there's a 2-week limit that you can stay on those, and some might be different. So you have to leave after a certain point. Not only that, she's learning now that the campsites are all booked. Like, there's nothing available, because a lot of people probably are thinking the same thing. Like, hey, I don't have to go to work. I don't have to be physical at work. I can do it from wherever. I'm going to go get a van, or I'm going to go get a camper, and I'm just going to go camp at different spots and just work from that different spot every time. So there's a lot of people that have thought about doing this, and now it's pushing the campsites to capacity, and it's tough to find places. And I don't know that for sure. That's what I heard through my sister. So why don't this parking lot thing, I mean, maybe the thing to do is to start registering it as kind of a private campsite almost, right? So that you appease the residents in the area. And I'm assuming that when you do designate it at a campsite, that you are paying some sort of tax. And that way, you know, the area gets their money in that regard. So I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. It's tough.
The article details a couple that in 2016, they bought a van for $50,000. They spend $486 per month on the van, compared to about $1,600 a month you would pay for rent in that town. So as long as you cover your $500 a month payment, you make $500 a month, you know, $600, everything on top of that is just gravy. But when did van life like start? You know, when did this all happen? I think maybe like the early 90s, you know, you had surfers and skiers.
You think about the 60s, right? The Volkswagen van.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like sleeping in the van, I think the article might have mentioned like early 1992, early 1990s, people working the lifts, you know, would come for the winter, didn't really want to get a place just for a couple months, and they just camp out in their van, and they'd rather spend money, you know, on skiing and food than on housing. But is this going to be the future? Because van life has taken off exponentially in the past, you know, 5 years, especially with social media, with digital nomads, with TikTok. But like in 10 years, is half the town going to be like living in vans? Because you need this type of client. You need someone to run the town, right? You need service workers, and it comes down to an affordable housing issue. And these resort towns just don't have affordable housing. So
use me as an example on this. And when back in the day, when I was 18, I went to Ocean City, and I lived in Ocean City for the summer. So it was a 3-month thing. I remember what my rent was. It was for the whole time. It was $1,500. So
for the whole summer,
a month, right?
Yeah, 3
for the whole summer.
Okay.
And we were probably there a little more than that. But you think, all right, I lived in this little tiny place, and there were a bunch of us jammed in this thing 3 blocks from the beach. And I was a waiter on the boardwalk, which was great. But think about how much it is to rent a spot. That same spot could rent for weekly. I mean, at that time, a lot more, double, triple the amount. And it's like, who in their right mind wouldn't transfer that over to a better rental and make the money? And who's going to stay and keep those 3-month, 4-month workers at a super low cost so that they can live, rather than a person that they can get weekly and just make so much more money? It makes sense, right? But where do they go? And this is the issue. And I think it's going to be an issue on a lot of places, as rents go and as things sell, as properties sell, as whole buildings like I lived in, there were maybe a 6-unit complex. That thing's going to sell, and they're going to turn it into an Airbnb, or they're going to turn it into a hotel or something like that. And so where do those people go? They go into a van. Then where do they park it? I see it as a big problem as these prices keep increasing.
Yeah, affordable housing needs to be built. Easier said than done. Very difficult to build, very expensive, and then do the residents want affordable housing? So these are tricky topics.
Yeah,
these are very tricky topics.
It is, and it's like at one point you think, all right, well, the infrastructure bill is this building affordable housing? Yeah, it's so difficult. I mean, this is because rents are going through the roof too.
One of the issues that these towns are running into, I just watched a Vice piece. I don't watch Vice for a lot of things, but it came across my radar, a very similar story, and they interviewed a store owner, and they're walking down the main strip, and every store has a help wanted sign.
Yeah.
They can't get enough workers. They're doing doubles, and they're going back to their van and crashing and doing it all again the next day.
Yeah, because you think, even at $15 an hour to try to pay somebody that much money, it seems like a lot compared to what minimum wage was, but truthfully, you can't really live off of it on a lot of these places. So no one wants to work, and then you're stuck.
And VanLife has increased at the same time that Airbnb, investment properties have increased. So people buying Airbnbs. Right. I think in that Vice documentary, the most hatred, if you will, because everyone wants to point a finger, right?
Right.
The scapegoat, the people that, the person that someone blames is the out-of-town buyer that just buys the property, doesn't live in it, doesn't rent it out, and then comes for a couple weekends out of the year.
Yeah.
So. All right, guys. Well, ending on a heavier topic, but I do like to start the conversation, and it's not happening in our area, but I think it's an important conversation to have.
It is, and I think about buying a beach house and whatever, and the reality is that if I did buy a beach house, I'd be renting it out the rest of the time that I wasn't there, and I would need a certain amount of money for me to pay my bill for me to make sense, right?
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of it. It's what's happening.
Cool.
It's tough.
All right, guys. Well, that just about does it for another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you made it this far. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop us a comment. Let me know what you think of these topics. And if you have any ideas for new topics down the line, always looking for good ideas. We got our Zillow topics, our NFT topics, and, usually a wild card topic. So, all right. Well, until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.